Good morning, you fine friends of mine. How are you? Thanks for finding the Wicked Radio live stream. Appreciate you as always. And if it's not morning for you watching live, maybe you're watching or listening to the replay later on. So, good evening. Happy next week. I don't know. I'm just glad you're here. Thanks for finding me. I appreciate you. By the way, audio podcast posts just after we get off the live stream. That's always available. If you are watching the replay later on, make sure you press follow and share. Put your notifications on. Appreciate you, as always. We're going light today, guys. Thank God. I've been looking for a day like this. I mean, think about the past. I mean, even through the 4th of July holiday, the news was intense. I mean, just, swampy politics. And we had a little bit of that today, but not too much. I mean, you really can't avoid it these days. There's so much happening out of the swamp. But we got some hero stories for you. And I think the common theme among all of them, which is what I always try to do, take this bad news, which potentially could be really bad if you listen to the mainstream media, and turn it into good news and empower yourself. Really, and I think all these examples we can. Like Biden's doctor who's clammed up and not talking. And you're thinking, well, that's not good. We're not getting any information. Wait, we are. Because sometimes this does happen, where the people who have a lot of information that would help out the country, when they don't talk, it tells you everything you need to know. We'll get out of that once we cover it and talk about a hero situation with lifeguards. Flagler Beach in Florida, where they saved a deer in the ocean. I'm asking the same question. Why is a deer in the ocean? Now, this could have been a situation where it's an animal, so you're thinking, well, they'll just kind of let it go, and that's sad, whatever. No, not these two. Not these two chill lifeguard dudes. They were awesome. Big layoffs at NASA. That's not good either. Wait. But there's good news hidden behind that, because what they're telling you is this is because of the Trump administration. This is because of the new head of NASA you just nominated. It was a massive walkout. I was told that 4 times yesterday on 4 different sources. Not true, as it appears. They weren't layoffs. They were buyouts and early retirement. So it's great news for those people, and it's why they're not talking. And one other story, we're turning a potentially bad situation, or frustrating, into something great. A lady in San Jose, California, has beaten Amazon's ridiculous return policy. Here's what she went through. Can you imagine getting thousands, not hundreds, thousands over the course of a year, packages you didn't order, and she couldn't get rid of them? But she did it. She did it the right way. Talk about that, too. Let's get right to it. All right, this is the only swampy stuff I have for you today. Swamp meaning Washington, D.C., but it's revealing, and you can't avoid this kind of stuff. You don't want to keep your head in the sand, but still revealing. Now, Biden, former President Joe Biden, that would be, had a doctor. His name is Kevin O'Connor. You've seen him, the guy with the silly butch boy haircut. We all kind of called for him to be subpoenaed to testify before Congress to talk about if anybody would know Biden's mental state or lack thereof during the administration. It would be this guy, right? Of course. He's his doctor. This is also the guy that gave him a clean bill of health. He was the guy referred to. I know he's a sharp as a tack, I think the term was, even though we all know that this guy, Biden, was gone for 4 years. We did not have a president. We had people signing with an auto pen serious executive orders and policy. We all know that. It's been well established. We all know that. But we all looked forward to what his actual doctor would say, right? Silly us. Of course, the guy's not going to talk, because that would put him even more in the crosshairs, and maybe he could even face potential perjury charges down the road, whatever. So Kevin O'Connor gets before this House panel yesterday, and he didn't reveal much. Or did he? Anyway, here's what he said.
On the advice of counsel, I must respectfully decline to answer based on the physician-patient privilege and reliance on my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. I am not a lawyer, and I must follow my lawyer's advice in this matter.
Okay, now, when we all first saw that yesterday, I had the same reaction, too, at first. It was, oh, geez, yeah, he's not going to talk. We're never going to find out. Okay, right. I had that reaction, too. Hold on. He actually said it all right there. There are times, it does happen, when people plead the Fifth who really do know all of this information. And they don't really have to say anything, and he didn't. Now, first of all, it shouldn't shock any of us that he didn't talk. Would you? Put in that situation? First of all, I don't think any of us would be Biden's doctor. I wouldn't be able to handle that and lie to the American public. But if you were in that situation and you did testify, you wouldn't say anything. Of course you wouldn't. I know people are upset. I saw all kinds of comments yesterday, heard from people personally, all upset about this. We're never going to know. How could you dare do this to the American public as a doctor? It's okay. And I don't know whether he meant to do this or not, but he said everything he needs to say. Because sometimes, and here's the good takeaway for this, sometimes when people who know that bad things were happening. When they don't talk, it confirms everything you needed to know. Everything we needed to know was said right there. So here's the good news. Even though Biden's personal doctor didn't talk about his mental state or lack of facilities, you know without a shadow of a doubt that Joe Biden was a pile of sticks in the White House. He was gone, just not there and not running. Now that's frightening, obviously, and that's going to be we're going to see documentaries and books. I can't wait till all the books come out about this, about people who really do talk. But anyway, so if you've always suspected that he was a dementia patient from the campaign on, this wasn't something that just happened in the White House when he was there as president. He was gone the whole time. They ran successfully a presidential candidate with dementia through 4 years, wasn't really running the White House, and it happened, and that was just confirmed right there by your doctor. That's your good takeaway. He didn't need to say anything for all of your suspicions and mine to be confirmed. That's the good takeaway, even though he didn't talk. Sometimes you got to listen to the things they're not saying to get the truth. And that's where we are on that. All right, here's another example where the truth exactly wasn't told to us yesterday. Did you see the headlines? And maybe I saw a little bit more because the Space Coast for me in Florida is not that far up the East Coast. And so a lot of NASA stories kind of get to us first in Florida, but still a big story. It's NASA, right? Here was the headline. Saw this. 2,000 NASA employees walk off the job. Now, at first glance, the people who only read the headline and believe it are going, oh, my God, this is a crisis. What is happening? What's Trump doing now? My God, we're gonna strand astronauts again. We're not going to be able to go to the moon. Okay, here's the truth. The exact number, I'll give it to you. It's 2,145 NASA employees are not going to be NASA employees anymore. Were they fired? I'm sure a couple of them were. I mean, when there's buyouts and early retirement benefits and things, you always this is how it works in corporate America too, even though this is a government organization. You stuff some firings in there too, kind of get rid of them. You do it all at once. You lop them all at once, right? And it gives those people a chance to say, no, I was offered a buyout. Sure. Okay? Here's the truth, and here's why you're not exactly hearing from those NASA employees. There were buyouts and early retirements. That's what they were for 2,145 employees. That's what happened, despite what the mainstream is trying to tell you. Trump runs off over 2,000 NASA employees, space program in peril. No. They downsized in making this thing a whole lot more efficient. I will tell you, maybe you had this reaction too when you just heard that news. I had it. This was my question. I said, wow, so NASA has thousands of employees? I thought a lot of it was administrative. Of course, they had their engineer and their scientists. I get that. But I've always known that was a smaller type department. But this is like the bureaucratic side of NASA. So the takeaway is, first of all, it's not what you were told. It's not what we were told in the headlines. NASA being gutted. No. They were offered buyouts and early retirements. And apparently 2,145 NASA employees happily took that deal. And they're not talking about it because they're riding off into the sunset with probably pensions because they're government employees. They're happy as hell. And no, NASA wasn't gutted. The good news is a more efficient, bloated bureaucracy, which is the same thing with all government departments, just got trimmed to make it more efficient. That's what the deal was. But here's the other thing. What led to the mainstream media telling you that these were nuts and it's already happening was part of this, because on the very same day, and it was convenient for the misguided, misleading media to jump in on this, the very same day, Trump named a new NASA administrator. It is Sean Duffy. He is the U.S. Department of Transportation Secretary. So I think Trump just said, hey, you're already running that, Sean. Why don't you go in there and run NASA or whatever? Okay, it is what it is. But that's not why they were layoffs. They were buyouts. And Trump's, you got to go to Truth Social on this because this is where you find out what Trump is doing or thinking these days. I'm pleased to announce that I'm directing a great Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, to be interim administrator at NASA. Interim. Sean's doing a great job handling our country's transportation, blah, blah, blah. And Sean Duffy, for his part, says, honored to accept this mission. Time to take over space. Let's launch. I don't know whether he's going to be permanent or not, but the takeaway is it's not It's not a gutting of NASA. It's making it more efficient. Now, there might be a fight down the road because you might remember with the fight between Trump and Elon, the bickering here was Trump took away the nomination for Elon's buddy to be head of NASA. So you don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But the thing is, it's actually pretty good news about NASA, not what you were led to believe. Again, turning that into good news. All right. This is one talk. I told you we were going light today, but can you imagine this situation? We're going to California for this one, San Jose, California. She only gives her name as Kay, and that's all right. She shouldn't be outed for this anyway because she's already gone through a year of hell. Kay in San Jose Kay from San Jose has been dealing with an Amazon return problem. We've all gone through it, right? I didn't order this. It's the wrong size. I can't direct it. The company is overseas somewhere. I can't. Amazon, help me out. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't. Boy, they sure didn't in her case. Here's what happened. Kay received thousands, not hundreds, thousands of packages that she didn't even order, okay? There were SUV seat covers, apparently, that didn't even fit from a Chinese company called, and I'm going to screw up the name of this, Lusandidian, I don't know, under the Etkin brand, whatever it is, but they didn't fit. Kay is getting the returns of people across the country who are trying to return this thing. And you're wondering how this happened. Because this company put Kay's address randomly from San Jose in their company return thing, and she couldn't reach them. Here's her. This is a nightmare. Here's her describing the story.
It started with one package, and I was like, it's got my address, but it's not for me. And I went to my neighbors, and I was like, oh, did somebody accidentally put the wrong last digit? Nobody knew what it was. Oftentimes, the amount it costs to return it is about more than 50% of what they paid for it. Right. And every time I was absolutely assured, this will stop. You won't get any more of these packages. You'll hear from us within 24 to 48 hours.
And she didn't, but she kept on fighting. Now, that's the good news part of the story here, but a little bit more background on it. So in all these cases throughout all the people that had ordered these things, and by the way, this Etkin company apparently has a 1-star because almost everybody that has ordered this SUV faux leather seat cover thing, they don't even fit and they're basically crap. Unbeknownst to them, though, when they returned it, it was going to Kay's house, which is why she had thousands and thousands of packages over the course of a year. Because, again, the seller put Kay's address on the return labels, getting her stuck with the mess. So here's what she did. She tried to reach this Etkin company, and no response. She tried apparently dozens and dozens of times to reach out to Amazon, and they kept on promising her they would take care of the problem and do it, but they couldn't. But throughout the process of the past year, they offered her a $100 gift card, though. And she's like, great, but can you get rid of these packages, please? So here's how she turned a potentially horrific situation into a winner. Because nothing was slowing down. In fact, apparently the return packages were arriving on her garage, blocking her front step, by the way, like a mountain of Amazon packages, more and more. They were increasing. Amazon wasn't helping at all. So here's what she did. Here's how she turned a horrific situation into a winner. She's in San Jose, California, and she went to a big media outlet in San Francisco. And this is where local news still helps. KGO, big television and radio broadcaster. And she told them the story. And this is how the thing went viral. And you see the pictures of the castle of packages. And she said, oh, this is just a piece of it. I've got the rest of it stacked up like a mountain in my backyard. Through using the media and becoming loud about this, but doing it in a do I say nice kind of way? Because she wasn't yelling and she wasn't screaming. She finally, through using her local media sources, got Amazon to finally get through to this Chinese company to stop this. I don't know about the rest of the customers who were dealt with this thing or, got a bad package. I don't know if they got their money back or they had to pay for a return, but she actually got it done, which is proof once again that no, local news is getting less and less relevant. I understand that. But in a case like this, I think the last remaining use that local news sources, TV and radio have are consumer issues. Because this thing may not have gone national at first, but KGO out in San Francisco, which is, near her local media market, they picked up the story because it's interesting, and they helped her out, and they got the attention of Amazon, and they got it done. Moral of the story, make a noise as a consumer when you're getting screwed over like this. And she was, because it was hindering her life. Make a noise, but do it in a nice and relatable way like Kay did there. Kay in finger quotes, because that's not her real name. But you can do it. She turned a horrific situation into a good one. Good for her. God, I can't imagine that. That would be awful. Jesus. God, I can't imagine that. And speaking of going light, but no less important. So there's a story out of Flagler Beach, once again in Florida, of two lifeguards, two of the chillest lifeguards you could ever possibly imagine, who saved a deer out of the Atlantic Ocean. Yeah, right about now in your head, I can see your wheels turning. You have the same question I do. Why is a deer in the Atlantic, and how does that happen? I don't know. They don't know either. But this is the story of two dudes, and you're going to hear here, the chillest lifeguards you could ever possibly imagine, but no less heroes. Chase Hunter and Leo Peters. They're lifeguards at Flagler Beach. And this is why they're heroes to me. Not only doing what they do every single day as lifeguards, but they saw that a deer was in the ocean. Now, if they weren't lifeguards as dedicated to doing what they do to saving any life, not just humans, they could have just let the deer go, right? I mean, their job is to save human lives. But that didn't stop them. Listen to the story that they tell on this and how they turn this horrific situation into something good. Because you hear deer in the ocean surrounded by something else you're going to hear right here, and you're thinking, well, there's no way this has a good possible outcome. But it actually does.
We have a job to do. We save lives, whether it's a human life or, in this case, a deer.
I had never heard a deer before, and they yell. They yell loud. When I got out there, I thought Chase was the one screaming.
I was just talking to it, it's all right, I'm here to help, calm down. There was also two sharks swimming out there the whole time. In my mind, I was telling myself, we're getting this deer in one way or the other.
Did you catch that? I didn't even catch it at first when I first saw the video of it. Not only was the deer out there, surrounded by sharks. So you heard, I think it was Chase at the beginning there said, we're out there to save a life. I don't care what it is, what kind of life it is. We're going to go out there and save this deer. And they did, despite being surrounded by sharks. So they really could have, and I think people would have understood if they didn't risk their own lives, because that's what lifeguards do, to save a deer in the ocean because it's not a human. I mean, it's not the best look in the world, but I think it would have been understandable. That didn't stop these dudes. They went out there and they saved the deer. And when they're out there, they see that they're surrounded by two sharks, too. Heroes. That could have been a really bad situation. It's something good. Love it. So lighter stories today, but no less important, so good. The main takeaways, don't believe the first line of the headline with the NASA story. Don't buy it, because when you dig a little bit deeper, there's always a reason. And like the Amazon lady in California, if you're stuck with a horrific situation, even in a customer service situation, if you make a noise loud enough but do it in a nice way, you can usually get results, even if you're surrounded by thousands and thousands of packages. Have a wicked awesome Thursday. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for finding the audio podcast, too. Going to post that in just a couple of minutes, and give me about a half hour, and that's available on all of the podcast services, whichever platform you like. And that's growing, too, so I appreciate it. Audio still lives. And if you're listening or watching on the replay later on the social media channels, follow, like, and share. Put your notifications on so you know when we're going live. Appreciate you as always. Have a wicked awesome Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday? Oh, that's good news already. Make it awesome. Remember, you can turn bad news into good news always. We'll talk to you tomorrow.